This actually might have been the best trail I could have happened upon for testing out the fat tires. Monarch claims that they've made the ultimate fat tire e-bike. Well, I'm going to put it to the ultimate test. Uh-oh, we're getting in air, motor high temperature. Don't worry, I'm not giving up Monarch. Oh man, I'm making it.
Easy hill.
Yeah, super easy. This is the brand new Monarch marker, and it does not show up quietly. Over 1,600 watts of power from the motor, 2 batteries included in the box instead of just one, a claimed 120 miles of range before you need to start looking for an outlet. But here's the part that has everyone's attention. It's $19.99, and when you start reading the spec list at that price, 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes, a modular rear rack, reverse arch fork, touchscreen display, it starts to look a little suspicious, but in the best way. So the question we're chasing today is simple. Can a company's very first e-bike really do this much for the money? In this review, I'll walk you through everything you need to know, but before we get rolling, I think I should explain who Monarch actually is. Let's take a closer look. Monarch is a new brand based in Minnesota, but the people behind the brand are anything but new. In fact, they received an investment from Lectric. Yes, the same Lectric that sells more electric bikes in the United States than anyone else. So with this backing, the goal of the brand is really to push the value that Lectric brought to the market, but at a higher price point. And all that value is going to be obvious when we start talking about components. Like Lectric, Monarch is a direct-to-consumer electric bike company. So that means support is important. So much so that they brought the team from Lectric that started up their customer service department to run Monarch's. Time will tell, of course, but just know that Lectric's customer support is praised across the industry. So it's likely you're going to have the same experience with Monarch. If you don't trust me, maybe just give them a call. If any of our Monarch content has been helpful in your purchase decision, I have one quick favor to ask. Use our link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen now before you buy. It's free and really makes videos like this one possible. Plus, you'll be able to see any currently included accessories. Like at launch, they're including a smart helmet. The marker comes in 2 different frame options, the high step or a step-thru. What you see here just makes it much easier to hop on. Both frame options, according to Monarch, accommodate riders all the way down to 5'2", up to 6'5". We tested these bikes out with a bunch of different riders so you can see how you might fit, but I'm 6 feet tall with a 32-inch inseam, and my wife is 5'5". And another important distinction is on the step-thru, you get more swept-back handlebars, so if you want a more upright riding position, go this route. On the high step, the color options are either cedar or taconite. On the step-thru, it's birchwood or this greenway. The bike weighs in at 87 pounds, has a total payload capacity of 420 pounds. 330 pounds is the max rider weight. You can put 66 pounds on the rear rack. The frame is IPX6 rated, the battery is IPX7. Let's dive into all of the components. There's going to be some surprises here, trust me. The brakes are 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes. They're called the Talon P4s, but they're made by Star Union. Those are paired with a larger 203mm rotor up front, 180 in the rear. The 26 by 4-inch wide tires come from Kenda. Check out this aggressive tread pattern. And Monarch pre-fills them with slime to help prevent flats. The front wheel attaches with a through axle for easy assembly. The front fork was developed by Monarch. They're calling it their Gneiss fork, a play on words because they're a Minnesota Gneiss company, if you will. 80mm of travel, preload adjustment on the left, lockout on the right, plastic fenders front and rear, Monarch symbol on the head tube, Gneiss cable management. The front light runs off the main battery, attaches to the handlebars. Rear running lights as well. When you hit the brakes, they go brighter. You also have hazard lights, as well as turn signals left and right. There's ergonomic locking rubber grips. You'll see this pattern on the battery cover as well. Matching Talon P4 brake levers with motor cutoffs, a left-hand thumb throttle, and on the right side, a Shimano Cues 9-speed trigger shifter. Moving on to the controls and display, and be sure to subscribe because we will do a separate video on their app. To turn the bike on, power button is behind the display. Monarch on boot up. Something I've been getting used to. This is a touchscreen display, but you can also use the controls. Let's run through the controls just quickly. On the top, you have your hazard lights, indicators on the screen. You have your turn signals left and right. Tap again to turn them off. They do turn off after about 20 flashes. This button will give you additional information on the screen if you don't want to use the touch screen. I'll give you a closer look at those screens in a second. To turn the lights on, hold pedal assist up, and you can engage walk mode by holding pedal assist down. And there's an indicator on the screen. And this bottom button acts as a back button when you're in the advanced functions. And then you have your different pedal assist levels. So off, cruise, breeze, explore, sport, and boost. Now let's focus just on the display and the touchscreen. So you have current time in the top middle, battery capacity in the top right, speed front and center, wattage going to the motor below that. You can tap on your pedal assist level to change it or use those controls. And you can get that additional information by swiping to the right. We have current speed, trip, odometer, voltage, cadence, and trip time. Swipe again, estimated range, which does change depending on your pedal assist level. And we have your battery capacity as well as your current speed. So you can choose what screen you'd prefer. Tapping this arrow will get you into the advanced settings. In general, not too much to change here, though you can change the pedal assist view to just icon or icon and text. You can also change the homepage theme. Let's go to topographic map. In buzzer, you can turn it on or off for the turn signals, the rear traffic radar, TMPS warning, that's the tire pressure monitoring system that you can buy, and finally navigation. In the top right-hand corner, you can change this to dark mode if you want, which I really like having that option. Going back to the main settings screen, we can tap on bike. You have bike sleep, change it on or off, headlight auto shut off. You can clear your trip data. Change walk mode from 3 miles per hour to 3.7 or just disable it altogether. You can change the speed limit. Yes, this can be a class 3 electric bike, so let's do that. And we'll change the throttle to high. There's factory reset and advanced settings. You can turn the throttle on or off, switch between the cadence and the torque sensor, enable cruise control, which we'll do. This is an important one. You have motor tuning. You can change each pedal assist level and modify the max torque, assistance, and pedal response. So in boost, you can see we have everything maxed out. We'll skip through some of these other settings, but we have battery charge limit. This is awesome. So if you only want to charge your battery up to 80% to prolong the life of your battery, you can do that. We'll leave it at 100 for now. We'll go back to the main settings screen. Devices, this is where you can connect your phone. You can view controller information, battery information, including the cycle count. There's also information for the current temperature. And finally, on the side of the display is a USB-C port for charging your device. And that is it for the controls and the touchscreen display. There's 3 mounting points on the down tube for perhaps a water bottle cage or a folding lock. Let's remove the battery. Remember, you get 2 of them. We'll put the key in, turn to the right. It'll drop slightly, and then hit this button to fully release. There's a look at that battery cover, which matches the grips. It's a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery. So with both of them, that's 30 amp hours. Just look at this price point from other reputable brands. Trust me, you're not going to find this kind of capacity. The battery itself is certified to UL 2271. The entire bike's electronics are certified to UL 2849. There's that button to drop the battery down from the frame. You can get an idea of the capacity by pushing this button right here. Charger port right here. And since you're going to have 2 batteries, I highly recommend a battery bag like the one we sell at shop.ebikeescape.com. Remember, your purchase helps us out. It's a roll top bag, waterproof and flame resistant. When you snap it together, you get a nice grab handle. And even more than that, there's Velcro straps so you can attach a second battery to your rear rack if you're going on a crazy adventure. So remember to check out shop.ebikeescape.com for all of your high-quality e-bike accessory needs. To put the battery back in, terminals first, and bring it to the frame. and you can remove the keys. To charge the bike, Monarc is including a 5 amp charger. Normally we see 2 amp chargers. So that's going to be 3 hours to charge up one battery from empty, 6 to charge up both from empty. And as someone who's been regularly riding electric bikes for nearly 8 years, trust me, it's just so nice to charge up your battery faster. And if you want to charge the battery when it's in the bike, simply lift this rubber cover. Monarc includes some tools, and important for correct at-home assembly, this torque wrench with the bits that you need. The pedals are metal and they're quick release, again for easy assembly. I can put them in with one hand. There's a rear-mounted kickstand, a saddle that I find very comfortable, but it also has a grab handle on it, which is nice for moving the bike around. The rear rack has a built-in MOLLE panel, and then there's these slits here. I imagine a lot of people will have some unique things that they're able to attach to this rear rack. But in addition, it is a MIC-compatible rear rack, and that means it will work with any MIC accessory. We sell a bunch of our own at shop.ebikeescape.com. I have our Big Papa here for demonstration purposes. This is a huge bag, as you'll see. So you simply slide your accessory and then use your key, and it will snap into place. So it's easy to attach these accessories, but then you get a little bit of security. I like this one because it's absolutely massive inside. There's a mesh pocket, rear water bottle holder, reflective accents, and then check this out. You have zippered pannier bags, which offer even more storage. Monarc really wanted to prioritize name brand components, and that continues to the motor. This is a Bafang hub motor, 750 watts nominal, 1,638 watts of peak power. And remember, engaged with either the cadence or the torque sensor, your choice. The derailleur matches the shifter. It's also Shimano Cues, which is awesome. It's certainly a step up from what we typically see. And remember, 9 speeds, 11 to 36 teeth in the rear. And the front chainring is 48 teeth. Nice chainstay protector. With that, I can't wait to test this motor out and take this bike off-road. Let's get into some first-person riding footage. 3, 2, 1, throttle only. Display showing 1400 watts, 16, 18, and there's 20. Motor's backing off. So when I was in the display and I had that throttle setting, low or high, high gives you full access to the throttle in any pedal assist level. Low actually changes it depending on the pedal assist level, which I like. I think they should rename that, so we'll see. But I have it in cruise now. And now, using throttle only, I'm getting just 200 watts, which is nice. More of a gentle takeoff if you don't want all the 1600 watts of power. And you can see we are creeping up in speed because we're getting a consistent 200 watts. If I go into Breeze, we're getting 422 watts. Explorer goes up just shy of 800. And Sport is around 1120 watts. So they allowed that throttle to be more accessible, which I really like. But remember, if you just want to have all the throttle power, no matter what pedal assist level you're in, you can set that if you'd prefer. All right, now let's go through the various pedal assist levels. I have everything set to stock, but remember, you can turn things down if you want to. So I have it in cruise. We're using the torque sensor, first gear. All right, quick engagement from the motor. Now, if you aren't familiar, a torque sensor, what it does is it actually measures how hard you're pedaling. And then if you're pedaling harder, the motor kind of rewards you for it, if you will. We'll get to the cadence sensor in a bit. But what I am loving in cruise, just getting 70 watts, just a little bit of power. I think companies need to make e-bikes more accessible. Of course, that can be done with motor tuning, but right out of the box, this one is tuned, in my opinion, very well because it's just giving you a gentle amount of power. And if I put in more power, we can get closer to 150 watts, though I'm certainly working for it. There's 12 miles an hour. Now let's go in Breeze. I have it in second gear, remember, of 9. So now it's easier to get just shy of 200 watts and we're cruising at 12 miles per hour. And putting in not a ton more power with my legs, but a little bit, getting closer to 300 watts. And we're cruising a little bit faster at 14 or 15 miles an hour. Let's go up into Explore. I need to shift up into 5th gear. Nice gentle cadence. Now cruising at 16 miles an hour. using between 300 and 400 watts, close to 500 there. 17 miles an hour. And a little bit more power from my legs in Explore. Need to shift up into 6th gear. All right, still pretty darn easy to hit 20 miles per hour. Let's see, putting in more leg power. Okay, 23, 24. And we're getting close to 900 watts. All right, next up is Sport. And I feel like this is where you can really feel how responsive the motor is, really just how much power the motor is giving you very easily. So 6th gear, just spinning my legs very easy, going 23 miles an hour. Could maybe shift up here, 25. We're not even in boost yet. All right, 8th gear, so I can actually put in a little bit more power here. And I think we might still hit 28. Yeah, there's 28. So boost is maybe going to only be reserved for the hills. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gently spinning my legs. We're going 28 miles an hour. All right, here we go. Now in boost. And I mean, you're just getting the full power of the motor. It's basically like you're using the throttle. I mean, yeah, I'm providing some power from my legs, but it's just so easy to get peak power from the motor. And I'm only in 8th gear, so I can shift up to 9th. There we go. Now I can have a slower cadence. So this is geared very well. So even with the torque sensor, easy to hit top speed. I imagine most people will want to use the torque sensor, but let's see how they did with the cadence sensor. All right, cadence sensor in cruise. 1st gear, about a half turn from the pedals for the cadence sensor to engage. I'm going to shift up into 3rd gear. So what they've done is this is just giving me a consistent amount of power. So in cruise getting 200 watts, and you can see we've crept up in speed. Now compared to a torque sensor, a cadence sensor, all it does is it simply determines whether I'm pedaling. If I am, it will give me motor power. How much? Well, that depends on your pedal assist level. And in cruise, that equals around 200 watts. And you can see we crept up to 20 miles per hour, and I'm just barely spinning my legs. I could make it harder on myself by shifting up if I wanted to. All right, let's go into breeze. So now we're getting 400 watts. Easier to get into the 20s. All right, Explore getting 700 watts. All right, Sport getting 1100 watts, and that's enough for us to hit 28 miles per hour. So because this bike at least has the ability for you to get power very easily with the torque sensor, that's the one that I'd recommend. But the cadence sensor is there if you want it. And of course, you have full customization over it. One thing I didn't talk about is cruise control. How do you enable it? Well, use the throttle and hold pedal assist down. And there's a cruise control icon on your display, much like the one found on your vehicle. And it's not going to let me drop below that. I went down a slight hill, so it's not giving me any power now. All right, and it's picking me back up around 13 or 14 miles per hour. Not something that I imagine a lot of people will want to use, but it's there. Before we get into our hill climb test, I want to take this bike off-road, which I'll do in a second, but I really like this path for testing out the front suspension fork. And I can really feel it up there, helping me out on these bumps over this little rock. This is not flat. It might look flat on camera. And with these wide tires, it just gives you a ton of confidence to just kind of plow over anything. So while not an air suspension fork, it certainly is doing more than some of the basic front suspension forks that you see on some fat tire electric bikes. There we go. Going over these bumps. Super comfortable. And of course, you can air down the tires a lot if you want additional comfort. All right, let's get into some real off-roading. All right, this is not a mountain bike, but I want to take this trail so I can get you somewhere special so we can really test out this bike. This is actually a blue trail. yeah, suffice to say, this is a good opportunity to test out the suspension. And this is really just crushed gravel. It is single track, and this bike is handling it well. Lots of traction from those fat tires. This actually might have been the best trail I could have happened upon for testing out the fat tires, because minus all these berms and stuff, this might be the type of terrain that people take this bike out on. There we go. And yes, trails are a little wet. Feeling that front suspension over that little rock garden. All right, we want to keep going here. A little drop here. All right, more rocky terrain. So if you want to go out and explore, do on-road riding, yes, and off-road, this is a great option. All right, I think we're almost there. All right, starting to get a little sketchy here. This is the type of trail I would not recommend a fat tire bike on. It's just less nimble, but we're getting closer to where I want to be. Monarc claims that they've made the ultimate fat tire e-bike. Well, I'm going to put it to the ultimate test up the bush push. This is a super rocky trail, straight uphill. I think I'm going to need some momentum. Let's use the throttle to get started. Okay, here we go, pedal. Come on. Back tire slipping out a little bit. We'll use the throttle and then I'll start pedaling. Gotta pick your line. Here we go. We're still going. No, we're not. Uh-oh, we're getting in our motor high temperature. All right, we're gonna let more air out of the tire. Don't worry, I'm not giving up, Monarch. All right, here we go. Pedal, pedal, pedal. Oh yeah, lowering that air pressure helped a ton. This is incredible. How's it going?
Yeah, how are you?
Oh man, I'm making it.
Easy hill.
Yeah, super easy. Woo! All right, guys. That is honestly impressive. All about air pressure to maintain traction up this huge hill. So is it capable off-road? I think we can say yes. Let's get into our hill climb test. This hill is absolutely massive. The GoPro makes it look so much smaller than it is, so we'll put up the specs on the screen and we will see what the minimum speed is. Remember, this is a heavy fat tire electric bike. Starting now, pulling peak power on throttle alone, 16 miles an hour, 15, 14, back up to 15, 14, 13 for a second. All right, so no problem on throttle alone. But let's see how this bike does while pedaling with the torque sensor. But before that, I want to test out these brakes. 28. There is a lot of rubber meeting the road on a fat tire e-bike. And these 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes perform great. Let's do it again. 30. Yeah, no problem with stopping power. All right, hill climb test while pedaling. I have it in cruise with the torque sensor. I imagine I'm going to have to go higher pretty quickly. All right, yeah, putting in a lot of effort in cruise. I would be winded at the top. Let's go into breeze. All right, I wouldn't say it's a breeze going up this hill in breeze. Getting 200 watts though from the motor, but still pushing really hard. Let's go into explore. All right, getting 300 watts, still pretty tough here, 4 miles an hour. Let's go into sport. Okay, some relief there. Getting closer to 500 watts, but I still want more. All right, boost mode. All right, That is so much easier. We're getting 700 watts pretty easily, and I'm spinning my legs nice and easy, still putting in some work, so it's not like I'm doing nothing, but going up the hill at 7 miles an hour. Of course, I could use the throttle if I wanted to and get full motor power and still pedal alongside it. For demonstration purposes though, let's go into the cadence sensor. All right, going to use a little throttle to get started. There we go. All right, now I'm in boost, first gear. So the cadence sensor just knows that I'm pedaling and it's giving me full motor power. So that's a good kind of demonstration of the difference between a torque and a cadence sensor. No way to quick swap it that I'm aware of, though you never know. It's something they could add with an over-the-air update. With that, let's get into some third-person riding footage. I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Monarch marker. Not going to lie, I'm still a little shocked that Monarch the company even exists. I never anticipated that Lectric of all companies would get behind an entirely new e-bike brand, spinning it up with its own HQ and its own identity. But clearly they see a market for more premium e-bikes from a direct-to-consumer brand based in the United States. And at $19.99 for the Monarch marker, honestly, we're not talking crazy money. So how did Monarch do? Let me start with what I love, and then we'll get into the considerations. I think the team behind Monarch realized something. And that something is that people love battery capacity. That's one of the major selling points. Either go on a massive adventure, or hey, keep a spare fully charged and ready to go. 30 amp hours is a ton of capacity, and the minimum range for this heavy fat tire e-bike should be around 30 miles per battery. They're even using LG cells. And if you're a frequent rider, you'll love the 5 amp fast charger, which fills a single battery from empty in just 3 hours. But this e-bike isn't just about the batteries. I mean, it kind of is, but there's a lot more going on. These are genuinely nicer components than we usually see at this price. The reverse arch fork performed well in our testing. The Shimano Cues derailleur and shifter are great additions that are exceedingly rare at or under the $2,000 price point. The premium choices keep coming: a MIC-compatible rear rack, integrated rear lights mounted up high into the rack so they're more visible, 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes from Star Union, and a larger 203mm rotor up front. I can't quite put my finger on what it is about these Kenda 4-inch wide tires, but they look awesome and gave me plenty of traction off-road. Plus, Monarch pre-fills them with slime, something no one else is doing. Well, actually, Lectric does it too. Add it all up and you're looking at a genuinely more premium build. Other brands with fat tire e-bikes at or around $2,000 are definitely going to notice the Monarch marker. It's really amazing how powerful some of these motors are at pushing heavy fat tire e-bikes around, and at 87 pounds, this one has real work to do. This 1,638 watt peak motor with 85 Newton meters of torque did not disappoint. You can select your class, and in class 3, 28 miles per hour was easily attainable even with the torque sensor. Don't forget the throttle, and I really like that you can coincide the throttle power with your pedal assist level, so you can decide if you want more or less power. On our off-road hill climb test, I eventually got to the top of the bush push. I picked up a temperature warning along the way, but the motor just kept going. Not surprisingly, it performed great on our on-road hill climb test. Right out of the box, the torque sensor felt amazing, each pedal assist level. Of course, it's nice to have full customization. Monarch just set it up great out of the box in my opinion. Before we get into the considerations, if you're planning to pick up a Monarch e-bike, use our link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen before you buy. You'll also see what accessories are included and help us keep reviewing electric bikes. Now for the considerations. The Monarch is a one-size-fits-most electric bike, and that held up in our testing. I put various riders on this bike and it fit all of them really well. But if you're on the shorter end, it might feel too big for you. Monarch also prioritized frame rigidity, so this isn't the lowest standover height I've ever seen, but it's still nice to have that added accessibility, and of course you have the high step offering as well. And remember, the step-thru has those slightly more swept-back handlebars. On the rear fender, I did have to make a few adjustments to keep it from rubbing against the rear wheel. Then on the tech side, which Monarch clearly has big ambitions for, a lot of the advanced settings that we usually look for are already here, and it's a genuinely good touchscreen display, though I'd expect some tweaks over time. The app isn't available just yet. I also wasn't able to test their smart helmet that pairs to the bike. You get things like turn-by-turn directions and synced turn signals to your bike. And the same goes for the tire pressure monitoring system and the radar, so I'll hold off judgment there, though those are some cool accessories that you can get. Finally, a 5-year warranty is a pretty bold move. The company is still new, so we need to give them time in the market, but the early signs are really promising. When you stack up the dual LG batteries, Shimano Cues drivetrain, Star Union 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes, touchscreen display, the list goes on, and then look at the $2,000 price tag from a direct-to-consumer brand, the value here is honestly hard to argue with. Remember to check out the link in the description and scan that QR code. Thank you so much. I want to hear what you think down in the comment section. Is having 2 batteries as big of a selling point as Monarch clearly thinks it is? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.